Welcome back, everyone. It looks like there's going to be sentencing next month in this case. There are going to be certain factors that are going to be considered towards getting to that sentence. The defense is arguing that the client didn't have any criminal record prior to this incident, therefore he should be considered for a minimum sentence of 12.5 years. The prosecution is claiming, among other things, that he was cruel to the victim, that there were children present, which can be considered towards getting the max sentence. Now, my prediction is he is going to get the max sentence, if not somewhere close to it. And here's why. First of all, you have the video evidence that was corroborated by the bystanders and the medical expert testimony, and it was a very strong case of guilt. The other reason is, and this is what you don't hear from the pundits, from the experts, judges have personal goals. And keep in mind, who heard of this judge before this case? I mean, he's a district court judge, right? Now, who hasn't heard of him? He might be the most popular judge in the country right now, maybe around the world. I mean, this is such a high-profile case. This might be the highest-profile case in American history in terms of media coverage, at least. Because keep in mind, if you bring up the O.J. Simpson trial, there was no internet back then. And this case was highly publicized. I mean, look what happened in the aftermath of this incident. So it's an extremely high-profile case. And with that high-profile nature is a lot of pressure on the judge to impose a max sentence. Keep in mind, if he looks tough in a case like this, where the people promoting him, in charge of promoting him to another position, want him to look tough, that's very important. If he's lenient in this case, it's not going to help his personal goals. It's not going to help his career. So I think he is going to impose the max sentence. You could look in history, when a judge is tough on cases that they're expected to be tough, it helps their career. Now keep in mind, judges are politicians. They have to get elected. The people that elect them and promote them are also politicians. All right, and there's a lot of outrage in this case. There is pressure on this judge to get the sentencing that is being supported by the people that elect him and promote him. That's what's going to happen in this case. Now keep in mind, of course, the evidence is very strong of guilt in this case. It's a very tragic event where you have a lot of graphic video that shows what happened, and he can be influenced by that as well. You know, he's a human being, and he's looking at that, and he says, you know, this is pretty bad, what he did to him. And that can influence his decision. But setting that aside, I mean, this is his biggest break as far as being a judge, to preside over a case like this. So what does that mean? From district court judge, maybe to the Minnesota Supreme Court, maybe then Attorney General, maybe then even the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, there are a lot of other things that are coming to light right now. There has been a juror that has been making many media appearances that came forward, and he's the only juror to come forward that was part of the case, and he was wearing a t-shirt that said, "Get your knee off our necks." So that shows bias. People are saying that the defense is going to use this as a grounds for an appeal, and I don't think it's going to work. And here's why. First of all, he didn't lie. If you look at the questionnaire, he was asked if he attended a protest in Minneapolis. He didn't. This was in Washington, D.C. And it wasn't a Floyd protest, it was a Martin Luther King protest. And people are questioning if this t-shirt that he wore was really authentic, maybe it was cropped or something. I don't know, he wasn't asked about that. It seems like there's some controversy and some questions that are being asked here. The bottom line is the defense really messed up here. I mean, why does the questionnaire say a protest in Minneapolis? It should say a protest anywhere. I mean, it makes no difference where the protest is going to be. If it's about this particular case, why does it make a difference? I mean, there are protests and riots all over the country. It wouldn't make a difference if it was in Minneapolis or not. So the questionnaire should have been, have you attended a protest anywhere? But it was Minneapolis, so he told the truth. You know, and that's the bottom line. So if they're trying to get a grounds for an appeal based on just this, it's not going to work. I mean, the grounds can be there if he lied on the questionnaire, but he didn't do that. As far as if the picture is authentic, that the t-shirt said, "Get your knee off our necks," yes, that's a clear bias. But I don't think that's going to be accepted either. Here's why, and again, you don't hear this from the pundits. No judge is going to put his name on a case like this, such a high-profile case, maybe the highest profile case in history, and declare a mistrial? Because keep in mind, look at all the high-profile cases in this country, the highest of the highest in history. When have they been overturned? When have judges declared a mistrial? I don't even see one case where that's happened. So certainly not this case. You think a judge is going to want to have his name on it, as I just explained? You know, he has a career. He's looking at his own career. He's not going to put his name on this. Now, here's something else I wanted to talk about. He's only one juror. There's 11 more. The question is, now you really have to think that the defense really has that work cut out for them, don't they, right? They actually have to investigate all these other jurors to see if there's any other potential bias. I mean, what's going to happen here if the appeal is denied, right, with this one juror? If this doesn't work, what's going to happen, right? This takes time to actually investigate all these jurors. I mean, how are they going to find things? If a photo surfaces or somebody said that they said something about the case, I mean, this can come up a year later. So these appeals can keep going and going and going. It's just, see, the point is, it's not just one appeal. It could be multiple appeals. So that's very important to look at here. And the other things that the defense want to bring up, like sequestration and a change of venue, and there was someone in Congress that said something that may have had an influence on the way the jury decided. I think the defense really messed up here, not just on the questionnaire, but they had a lot of strikes left. I mean, with 12 jurors selected, they only used 12 strikes. They had 18. All right? They had 5 more strikes to use. I mean, keep in mind, in this particular case, this juror was a black man, and he said that he supports Black Lives Matter. Now, he did explain that he doesn't support the organization, he supports the statement. But just based on that, the fact that he's black, and the fact that he said he supports the statement, they should have struck this juror, and they didn't. Okay, so I have 3 predictions here. First prediction is that he is going to get the max sentence. If not somewhere near that sentence, it's going to be closer to the max. The second prediction is the appeals will not be accepted. And my third prediction is, people have asked what's going to happen with the other police officers involved. I think they're going to plea. I don't think they are going to go in front of a jury where this whole thing is going to be played out again, where the same videos are going to be shown, the same witnesses are going to be called. It's going to be the same thing all over again. And the question is, will the same defense be used? Now, I mentioned the defense that I thought should be used. Now, I think they're going to plead. They're not going to take their chance with the jury after the train wreck that just happened. Now, I mentioned another approach that the defense should have taken. They can structure this approach to use to defend their clients, but I don't think they're going to do this. I think they're going to plead. The question is, will the state accept the pleas? The other question is, will they all be tried together? And keep in mind, if they do plea, then they're also facing charges from the Department of Justice. So that's a separate type of thing. They might try to make a similar plea that Chauvin made to plead third-degree murder, spend time in a federal prison and get 10 years, because this way he avoids any potential federal charges. So it could be these other 3 cops that are going to go on trial might try to do the same thing. Will that be accepted? Well, it wasn't accepted. The question is, will it be accepted with the 3 cops that might try to do this? Now, keep in mind, here's a point I want to make. I don't think the state wants to go through this again because it's important. I mean, keep in mind, that means more pent-up energy. More people are watching this trial like it's happening all over again. That means more people waiting outside the courtroom, more protests. And what happens if the verdict that comes about is not to the liking of the public? So the state's politicians, they don't want any more potential backlash. So I'm thinking a quick plea agreement will not create any pent-up resentment and anger and demonstrations that can lead up to another long trial where you don't know what the outcome is going to be, and they don't want any reason for more protests and riots to potentially happen as a result of another trial. This is why I think both sides want a plea agreement. So the question is, will they be accepted this time? I think that the defense will try to make a plea. Will it be accepted? I think so. I think that's what might happen in this case, because I think it's in both sides' interests to actually do a plea agreement rather than run this whole thing over again. So those are the predictions. I would like to know what you think. Please leave your comments, please subscribe, please like up this video, and thank you for tuning in.